What's up? As you know, a few months ago, StarSector received a new patch, the 0.97a release. And I realized that in a long time I haven't done an overview video. And I have some thoughts about the current state of the game. Some of these videos are getting quite old. 4 years. But anyway, I will be taking into account the last two patches. Why last two? Because I haven't really talked about the previous one that much. Overall, I think very highly of the new additions. Game is going in a very hopeful direction, and there are still a few things that I personally find quite critical. With few I see them being addressed in the future, but some I think won't be that easy to fix with additional content. I have to, however, start by saying StarSector is a great game, so if you haven't played it or haven't played it much, I think you will have an epic experience. So go play it. This is just more of a deep dive, and some of the critical things will start bothering you after you get your time worth many times over. Now let's talk about something positive, and this is one of the biggest additions that came recently, and that is the hyperspace topography. This is a wonderful addition. In simple terms, it allows you to traverse the space more efficiently, and this was so bloody needed, because in the late game when you travel through the sector, it is so important you can do it efficiently. And don't forget, in the old times you had to travel everywhere naturally, and I mean you have no bonuses if I remember correctly, but it was so long time ago. I don't think you could even activate the gates before. Like, that was a wild west. You kids don't know how good you have it right now. The rewards you get here are insane basically, and as you don't have it at the beginning of the game and you have to work towards it, the reward is even more amplified. Like, come on, maximum burn increase by 3 while in hyperspace. Absurdity. But there are two skills that this system awards you that impress me the most, and I really hope this game will do more of these skills. The first one you get is the reverse polarity. When you go to slipstream, of course, you travel really fast, and with the skills you get, it becomes even more efficient. And now you can use the reverse polarity and travel against the stream. What a wonderful idea this is. A skill that already enhances what is in the game. Ah, I love it so much. Like, this is a chunky boy. Oh my lord, what the hell? This is a big girthy boy. That's what she said. This is how skills should look like. Not just a flat bonus. You will travel free faster through this, but an active effect, which allows us to do another skill we can receive from the system. First of all, you need a strong gravity well. And I want to listen to it, by the way. Oh! In the direction you face from a gravity well, a slip surge will be created. The direction you face, it gets created, and now you can go like... And how cool is that? This gets me happy feeling. Besides one thing, this is uber scheiße. This is so bad. Like, you need so many points and you sell it like for 10,000, 50,000. You know what? I think I find this thing insulting as a last reward. You can repeat it, but the bonus is so minuscule that if this ring stays the way it is, this thing needs to get like 10 times the money. Or something totally different, like some stacking bonus or anything else. Anyway, this is a worker part. Just remove the right part and you are A-okay. Basically, traveling through the sector is becoming far more convenient and exciting. Without this, the game was such a bore in the late game, traveling from the faraway distances. And they even added like 50% more fuel to the station in the core systems. Such a small addition, but it makes a big difference. And as we were talking about skills, let's talk about the skill tree and other things. The more I play this, the more I don't enjoy playing with this. And I didn't mind this the first 5 times I play through it, but now I think it quite hurts the game, and I will explain you why. This is mostly, or 99%, just stat increases that don't impact the gameplay. Besides the Neuralink. I don't think this is a very good skill and I don't use it, but it is what the game needs. And when the two ships have installed this mod, you can just press T and swap instantly between each other. Not only that, you get benefit from the skills. I love the design of the skill because it adds something to the game. And why it's not that great, it's because the other skills are overpowered. And those other skills are boring, because they are just flat stat increases. Some of these skills might not seem that broken, but altogether create ridiculous difference. Like, for example, now I have a ship without an officer, without those skills. And you can see in head-to-head combat you get quite wrecked. As you should. But immediately if I put a beefed up officer into the ship, you gain extra range, better flux dissipation, better firepower, better everything. Like, look at the difference. Now I am getting through him and he's not. Well, maybe a little, but this shouldn't be such a close fight. The difference that the skill provide to the ship are, in my opinion, far too great. And this gets me to the biggest issue I have currently in Star Sector. I think at least, or one of two. Skills are way too strong. And it doesn't happen only for your flagship. It also happens with other officers. And in current state, well, it started to happen like 3 years ago. Every bloody fleet, especially in the late game that you fight, has officers. And not only on few ships, every single bloody thing has officers. And as I mentioned, the power you get from this is far too much. Translating simple, if you don't have the officer on the ship, it is significantly weaker. And I mean this just annihilates the balancing, making the skills that should be maybe just a fun power increase mandatory. I cannot, for example, imagine playing phase ships without phase coil tuning. Every single one of these has something insane about them. 15% ballistic and energy weapon range. Not only that, it also has 3 other buffs. Minus 15% damage taken by shields. These numbers are insane. In one side they have to be, so you notice it. And now when you fight these big battles, the enemy fleet has everything with officers. Your ships have officers, of course. When everyone's super, no one is. Now I had a thought, like imagine when you play the game and you don't go for the combat line and you put it somewhere else to utility skills, the fleet you will pilot will feel so much worse. So if you don't want to suck with your ship, you have to put some points into combat skills. The neutral link is the exception, and maybe the other utility ones that don't increase the power of the ship are also fine. Like the big buffs still, but at least it doesn't damage the balancing. And honestly, I don't think this can be changed, because if you nerf the skills, at the end they won't be that fun. But let the player collect as many officers as they want. Of course, they will pay the sum for them. But make it so you can field only few. Let's make it like those dumb Facebook memes, like assemble your team, you have only $15. Capital ships cost 5, frigates will cost 3, and the smallest ships like Wolf will cost 1. Okay, probably it cannot be 1 because there will be way too many officers, but you get my drift. Maybe 5 capitals, 3 cruisers, and 2 small ships. And you would have like 10 points. This would make it so you have to cherry pick what you want, which ships you want to have officers on. This will make it more exciting, as not every single ship will have officers, so you can feel the difference in a punch. And the enemies, on the other hand, the AI won't have every single ship being an officer. I really hope something can be done about this, because I find it really annoying. Genuinely think this hurts the game, and it is a very tough nut to crack, and there won't be a simple way to fix it. At the end, it's such a shame, because in recent patches, very exciting ships were added to the game. Let's take firstly, for example, the Retribution class. What else do you want? 3 large ballistic weapons aimed at front. Don't forget, it is pretty chunky boy as well. Only that, as you can see, other half of the ship is a giant thruster, making this thing absurdly mobile for its size and the dakka it has. In my opinion, you have to play with it a bit to get the build right, but when you do, oh, lovely ship. Executor is another lovely ship that I enjoyed quite thoroughly. What makes this thing unique? It's absurdly expensive. It costs 50 points to deploy. And what's worse, it has really bad flux dissipation. But even so, I cannot help it and just enjoy the ship. I do think that the ship is made powerful by the slots it has and how they are positioned. But what's even more brutal, it's its active ability. 50% energy weapon damage. I really enjoy high intensity lasers on this, and when you click this ability, you just melt everything in front of you. I shouldn't like this ship because of the awful flux dissipation, so the fact that it somehow works is even more exciting. Last but not the least is the Invictus class Dreadnought. This behemoth is something else. Also with horrible flux dissipation, but what makes this thing special is everything else basically. 4 large slots in front of the ship, with a special ability that makes this thing truly forced to be reckoned with. One thing I don't really enjoy when the AI plays it, as it really doesn't know how to use the flux dissipation, and usually it's capped out doing nothing. But don't sleep about one more thing, about the hull and the armor of the ship. This thing survives way too long in my opinion, but that's the fun of the game, doesn't it? Look, this ship is a brick wall, and your enemies will try to break it by smashing their heads into it. Isn't very effective. There is one more thing I repeated over and over again, and it's the endgame difficulty. And I think the Star Sector still struggles with this. The endgame events, let's sum it up. We have the Remnants, which are absurdly strong. Currently there is not much incentive to hunt them besides Alpha Cores. The Dorito, maybe Ziggurat, but that's not that late game. Abyss, with the Abyssal Horror, and that's about it. Well, you can also of course attack the enemy colonies, but yeah, that's more like self inflicted harm. Let's dive into them really fast. The Doritos are quite challenging, and you get the high-tech weapons, which are lovely. But the Hyper Shunt is quite disappointing. I think it uses too much work to make it work. At the end, you will increase with an item one industry of your chosen colony, which I don't think is enough. You can just start a new one or whatever. So this is quite disappointing. The Ziggurat is quite easy, so you cannot really call it late game. The Remnants. This is the strongest challenge in the game, but the thing is, you can quite easily avoid them, and your incentive to fight them is only alpha cores, or sometimes they guard a cool system with good planets, which there's the motivation. And lastly, we have the end game of the Abyss, and I mean, I love this place. Like, this is one of the best things that ever happened to StarSector. I didn't know I needed it before I got it. This place has wonderful vibes to it. It's creepy, it's mysterious. You don't know what we will find. It has the whole mystery around it. And at the end, you will receive as a reward the ancient Leviathan, the gate hauler, which creates a gate in whatever system you choose, which is also quite cool reward. But the fight inside the Abyss is quite lame, and the other thing is, nothing really hunted me while I was in the Abyss. I have to try it a bit more, but I doubt something will attack me. As there's no danger, it quite fastly will lose the mystery and the danger, and so on. And the Abyssal Horror, as I was saying, yeah, that thing is way too weak. For example, if we compare it to the Remnant, not really a challenge. And lastly, of course, you can attack the core systems. And I mean, I did it in one video, and the enemies get crazy strong. But it feels unnatural because you don't have like incentive to do it, basically. Like, you will do it just because you want to burn the world, not that you will get some reward or benefit of doing so. At the end, as I would always mention, I would like to have some endgame goal, which requires me to use the best fleets, and I would receive some cool reward. One idea I had was when you activate the gate hauler and it creates the gate in your system, you would be able to travel to another system, which is hidden from you, like from Stellaris, the L-gates or whatever. It would bring you to some cool, hard, challenging place where you would receive some cool rewards and so on. Or some late-game horde-type faction that would invade the Persian sector. Therefore, you would have to decide if you want to conquer the sector before and have the entire planets for yourself, or align with the other factions and fight it. You know, at the end, I think the game still needs some endgame activity with good challenge, with good rewards, and maybe some closure at the end. And I know it seems like I'm only complaining, but no, I think the game is getting into very good stage. Coming back to the Abyss, that place is awesome. Hopefully they will expand on it and make it even more cool as it is now. Well, on the topic of endgame difficulty, I think I have a good news. Someone just made a ship that beats his endgame fleet from previous playtest. But it was fun. It is super strong on its own. It won't be that strong anymore, but this gives me a lot of hope that the next patch will be quite exciting for the endgame. This was one of the biggest topics I was always mentioning about StarSector, that it was missing. We are on a good path. And while we are talking about path, let's talk about Luddic path, or the Luddic majority. I love these events. I hope more of them will be in StarSector. I think it makes the colony so much more fun, and it makes you think, will you remove it and anger the Luddic church or path or whatever, or will you accept it and gain these nice bonuses? However, also, you cannot build all of your industries because they don't like anything heavy. Super nice. Also, I would love to have more industries here. Something new would be lovely. Therefore, I also have to mention that I really enjoyed the derelict mothership changes, as they always drop one of these epic items. Yeah, one thing I just don't like in this patch, however, I don't think I ever had a moment when my defending fleets, the fleets that are orbiting my sector, defended from invasion. Although yes, the big fleets come less often, which is more enjoyable in that sense, but I got lucky in the system. I have 6 level 6 planets. I have also the cryo-arithmetic engine, and of course Paragon infused fleets. Look at my fleets. This one. This one. This is also quite fine. And never once they defended my system. And I don't think they should always defend it, but like, look at this. But with 6 planets in this state of game, really feels a bit pointless. Although I bet they do their work, and they definitely help. Although what's even weirder, why am I only receiving 80 points? Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed. If you're new, hit subscribe, and I'll definitely see you next time. Take care.